By the way, how annoying is The View getting? God, they're insufferable, that lot, aren't they? There's a side effect. But she told Joy Behar she's scared as heck. And it's this permanently offended, snowflakey, cancel culture mob who descend like a pack of hornets on anything they can get themselves into, trying to suppress everyone's...
Thank you for being here, and let's get going. Piers Morgan just lost it on The View. This was no small slight. The whole thing was taken down. But what had angered him so much? It's the same old story, he says. The so-called permanently offended cancel culture mob swoops in like hornets and seeks to silence everyone who has an opinion. And Morgan's biggest pet peeve is cancel culture. For years, he has been among the most outspoken opponents of it, calling it crazy, a threat to free speech, and even comparing it to modern-day fascism. He has gone on and on about it, turning people into cowards who are scared to speak up. Doesn't that sound very intense? But this is where everything gets insane. ABC is being urged to end The View by the same man who has devoted his life to fighting cancel culture. In his New York Post article, he was blunt in his criticism of the show, calling it a farce, irrelevant and worthless. Harsh? Naturally. Does he have a point, though? Morgan claims that the hosts no longer even pretend to be objective, and the show has turned into a daily tirade against Trump. They live to ridicule him, he says, and drag him every day. And this is no longer just his politics, it's a personal issue.
Aggressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald, she's a 10. You know that.
Morgan continued by saying, "In my worst nightmares, I'm stuck on a lonely island with the hosts of The View." He went on to describe these nightmares as painful, recurring, mentally harmful, and always following the same pattern. Without missing a beat, Morgan then went on to kill, starting with Joy Behar. Morgan didn't hold back, starting with Joy Behar. He tried to act as if it had never happened after confronting her about the purported blackface Halloween costume incident. Griffin, Alyssa Farah, came next. Morgan brashly accused her of being a political chameleon, reminding everyone that she had previously worked for Trump and called him a terrific president. Suddenly, he's the worst leader in history. Is he really wrong to call her a flip-flopper without thinking twice? How does someone go from being praised to being portrayed as the antagonist of a bad movie? So what was it? Either a sincere change of heart or just a business choice. Because The View's script changes based on who is trending. It now more closely resembles a political reality program than a conversation show. Hold on, though, because Sunny Hostin would not take it. No one on The View is a real flip-flopper, she says. Morgan didn't think so. He said Hostin unfairly singled out Nikki Haley, who pretended to be upset about her husband's military deployment. He then revealed her hypocrisy by claiming that she had condemned Haley for not using her given first name, despite the fact that she herself did not use it. Of course, a proper Morgan takedown wouldn't be complete without Whoopi Goldberg. He brought up her past problems, like the time she was suspended from The View for making Holocaust-related comments that sparked a heated debate. And that's only the start. There have been several scandals involving Whoopi. You remember when she defended Roman Polanski? Yes, that started a firestorm as well. Morgan's outburst was no longer just a viewpoint. The result was a full-on roasting session. People's strong feelings about The View make sense. Morgan later argued that real debate is no longer the program's main objective. In this echo chamber, your level of prejudice is the only factor that matters. And what do you know? Many others agree with him. Morgan's thesis is even being acknowledged by many Trump haters. The obvious slant of the point of view is clear. What if bringing disparate viewpoints together was the goal? No, that isn't taking place at all. But hold on, is Morgan just behaving the same way? He is being criticized by some, who question whether the revocation of The View is really required. Or, more precisely, an endless round of left-wing treatment. Wouldn't it be much more interesting if they really staged debates rather than just questioning Republicans every day? Or have talk shows just become this way? People increasingly choose sides and go to work rather than argue. Moreover, Morgan isn't totally wrong. Because the program leans so far to the left, it is effectively performing the limbo. A conservative visitor hardly has time to speak before they are thrown into a verbal WWE spar that they never even consented to. With one side taking the mic and the other only hoping for a commercial break, It's more of an intellectual roasting session than a discussion. You've seen it. When someone tries to make a point in a real-life group chat, an argument starts. Is anyone watching from home? Surprised. The idea that The View is no longer a conversation show is even being joked about by some. The sole reason people watch the roast is to laugh. Right now, having a genuine, amicable discussion on The View would be the year's biggest dramatic shift. Don't stress over unforeseen guests. Let someone finish a sentence without interfering. Wouldn't that be revolutionary? So what's the answer? While you think about it, let's move on to the next drama because Piers Morgan and his crew set fire to The View when Kamala Harris arrived. To put it plainly, it wasn't pretty. Have you noticed the huge swing in The View? Calling it intolerable. He's not alone in thinking that, let's face it. But saying it so out loud. It took courage to accomplish that. But there is a reputation for this program. Half the time, the hosts shout over each other, and the other half, as though they have cracked the Da Vinci Code, they nod. But Morgan's remark went beyond the chaos. Direct criticism was leveled at The View for effectively turning into a political comfort blanket for Democrats. He then showed a video of Kamala Harris and Joy Behar discussing Trump's chances of winning again, in which Joy asked Harris a difficult question before jokingly labeling his followers crazies. This is where things become complex because, regardless of her answer, Harris was going into a political minefield. If she agreed too much, she may anger centrist voters who don't believe that all Trump supporters are crazy. But if she took offense at Joy's words, she would risk upsetting the very audience that was looking to her to criticize Trump. So what did she do? To make sure everyone was scared, Joy Behar played it safe, nodded along, kept it vague, and focused on just one item. She knew exactly what she was doing. This was not a straightforward inquiry about the real problems or inadequacies of the policy. Without a doubt, it was a setup. In order to keep Harris at ease, it was the perfect softball question. How about Morgan's irritation? Really evident. The View is no longer a legitimate conversation show in his opinion. The studio audience claps in sync each time a Republican is hauled, reducing the event to a one-sided political rally. But this is where the heat builds. Morgan and his panel didn't believe any of it. Harris didn't even object when Joy referred to Trump supporters as crazies in passing. Not even a correction. Not even a raised eyebrow. That instantly reminded me of Hillary Clinton's well-known comment about the basket of deplorables, which, let's face it, the public did not like in 2016. Nonetheless, a few panelists argued that Clinton at least acknowledged the consequences of her remarks. She spoke clearly and purposefully. Harris, her response was a jumbled, nervous jumble. Then the panel slammed shut. They ridiculed the idea that a 77-year-old man with a comb-over would fear the Vice President of the United States, one of the most powerful people on the globe. One critic even added a little irony, saying that Harris had the backing of one of the most formidable military forces in history. She is acting, meanwhile, as if Trump were an unstoppable villain from a horror movie. They argued that by saying, "I'm afraid," repeatedly, as if it were a campaign ploy, she is only inciting worry rather than laying out specific plans. But this is where the argument gets interesting. Some panelists actually objected. They insisted that Harris's success was not due to her being an inspiration, but rather to the fact that she steered clear of any major difficulties. She didn't say anything particularly objectionable. Even when the topic of racism in America was brought up, she did not specifically call the United States a racist country, but she also did not deny it. It was a measured balancing act, perhaps too cautious. One individual even said that, rather than shining, her primary duty right now is to avoid making mistakes. And then there's the real strategy. Panelists at one point tried to appear knowledgeable, like philosophers on talk shows. At that point, it appears as if they are reading fortune cookies that are so full of bad advice that you would think they were made quickly during lunch. Take Kamala Harris, for instance. She might not be the most captivating speaker. As though her words are being mistranslated, she occasionally appears to be buffering in the middle of phrases. But maybe that is exactly the point, isn't it? Maybe she just shows up, says a few lines, pauses theatrically as though she were ready to share some deep, life-changing information, and then nothing. A few empty phrases and a lot of air. Over here, Piers Morgan is treating The View like the laughingstock of daytime television. In all honesty, many people are cheering him on to attack the show and even call for its cancellation. Why is it so crazy? They don't know what's happening. At the moment, The View is less of a conversation show and more of a tool. Hating on other people is a tactic to increase views. Much less drama and a lot more political punching bags than a reality TV show. However, I have a query for you. Do you think Piers Morgan is just voicing his ideas, or is he being too dramatic? What is the real strategy here? Is the base being intimidated, or is it being energized? Is it necessary to eliminate The View entirely, or does it just need a big change in the balance to have some real and censored conversation? Tell us what you think. Kindly provide your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. Let us know your thoughts on this. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel. More videos will be available soon. I'll see you at the next one, hopefully, are going to be made available. I'll see you at the next one, hopefully,